Initiation, the Perfecting of Man, by Besant. Forward. Within these discourses, there exists no novelty, but rather the reiteration of ancient verities. Yet, these truths possess such vibrant and perennial significance that, despite their antiquity, they never succumb to triteness. And, although they may be familiar, there remains always a mode of expression capable of casting upon them fresh illumination and renewed allure. For they penetrate the profoundest recesses of our existence, infusing the breath of the celestial realm into the mundane sphere of terrestrial life. Perpetually engrossed as the majority are in the exigencies of quotidian existence, they are prone to losing vision of those elements essential to their tranquility. Consequently, any summons to elevate their gaze toward the heights is received with gratitude by the earnest and the aspiring. The eternal verities invariably offer repose, comparable to the vista of snow-capped summits afforded to those laboring along the dusty thoroughfares of the valleys far beneath. May these recollections of the ancient tenets regarding discipleship and masterhood embolden some to exertion, and sustain others in their perseverance. May they assist some in realizing the feasibility of adhering to the injunction, "Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect." Besant. Chapter 1. The Initial Steps of Service. There exists a path that conducts one toward that which is designated as initiation, and via initiation to the perfecting of man. A path that is acknowledged within all the paramount religions, and whose principal characteristics are depicted in analogous terms throughout every one of the world's major faiths. One may encounter it within Roman Catholic doctrines as being tripartite in division: the path of purification or purgation, the path of illumination, and the path of union with divinity. You discover it amongst the Mussulmans in the Sufi, the mystic teachings of Islam, wherein it is recognized under the appellations of the way, the truth, and the life. You observe it yet further eastward within the great faith of Buddhism, separated into subdivisions, although these may be categorized under the broader schema. It is similarly partitioned in Hinduism, for in both of those monumental religions, wherein the study of psychology, of the human intellect and the human constitution, has played such a significant role, one discovers a more definitive subdivision. Yet, in truth, it is of no consequence to which faith one turns, nor does it matter which specific nomenclature one selects as best alluring to or articulating one's own concepts. The path is but one, its divisions are invariably the same, and from time immemorial that path has extended from the life of the world to the life of the divine. Throughout thousands upon thousands of years, certain members of our human race have traversed it. For thousands and thousands of years yet unborn, some of our lineage shall tread it until the cessation of our earth story, to the conclusion of this specific cycle of human time. It is the path that, stage by stage, empowers man to fulfill the command of the Christ. Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. It is the path whereof that same great teacher declared, Strait is the gate and narrow is the way that leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. I am aware that in subsequent eras, when the majority of men had forgotten the existence of the path, they altered those veracious words into assertions that are utterly false, rendering the gate and the way narrow that lead unto a heavenly life, and broad and wide the way that leadeth to an everlasting condemnation. Yet that is a distortion of the occult teaching. It is a contortion of the words of the Christ, for surely he, whom his followers style the Savior of the world, could never have declared that the ranks of the saved should be few, while the multitudes of the lost remain practically numberless. In addressing the path, we do not reside within those regions of exoteric faith that speak of heaven and hell. The life to which the path conducts the pilgrim is not the life of the ephemeral joys of heaven. Rather, it is that life articulated in the fourth gospel, wherein it is written, "The knowledge of God is eternal life, a life not reckoned by endless ages, but which signifies a transformation in the attitude of the man, which signifies not time, but a life that transcends time, which is not calculated by the rising and setting of suns, even were those dawns and sunsets within an immortal existence, but which denotes that perfect serenity, that unity with God, wherein time is merely a passing incident of existence, and an ever-present reality is comprehended as the true life of the Spirit." Thus, the path that we are to examine throughout the ensuing Sundays, via these brief and inadequate descriptions of what that path may signify to man, is the abbreviated albeit arduous route by which man evolves more rapidly than in the ordinary course of human and natural evolution. It is the path by which, to employ a frequently cited simile, instead of traversing the mountain circuitously via an ever-ascending spiral, man ascends directly up the mountainside, regardless of cliff and precipice, regardless of gulf and chasm, knowing there is nothing that can arrest the eternal Spirit, and that no obstacle is superior to the strength that is omnipotence, because it derives its source from omnipotence itself. Such is the path, then, that you and I shall endeavor to study, not for the mere interest of what is indeed a fascinating and enthralling subject, but rather, at least on the part of the speaker, and I trust on the part of some, at least, of the auditors, a study intended to transform the life, a study that engenders a determination to tread the path, to know it not merely theoretically but through practical realization, and to comprehend something of those hidden mysteries by which man, ever potentially divine, realizes his inner divinity and achieves perfection, rising above and beyond humanity. Such is the scope, then, of our inquiry, and in order that the study may be practical, we must postulate, at least for the time being, the existence of certain great facts in nature. I do not imply that our man of the world, in undertaking his initial steps toward the path, need either know or acknowledge these facts. Facts in nature do not alter based upon our credence or our lack thereof. Facts of nature remain facts whether we are cognizant of them or not. And since we reside here within the realm of nature, and under the order of law, the knowledge of the facts and the knowledge of the law are not essential for the steps that lead man to the path. It suffices that the facts exist, and that the man unwittingly allows those facts to influence his inner and his outer life. It is sufficient that the laws exist, although the man may remain unaware of their existence. Sunshine does not cease to warm you simply because you may possess no knowledge concerning the constitution of the sun. Fire does not cease to burn you because, ignorant of its ferocity, you thrust your hand into the flame. It is the safeguard of human life and human progress that the laws of nature are perpetually working and propelling us forward with them, whether we are aware of them or not. Yet, if we comprehend them, we acquire a significant advantage. If we know them, we can cooperate with them in a manner that we cannot while we remain in the darkness of ignorance. If we know the facts, we can utilize them, whereas we cannot utilize them when we know not that they exist. To know is the distinction between treading in the darkness and in the light. To understand the laws of nature is to gain the power of accelerating our evolution by utilizing every law that expedites our growth, and by avoiding the operation of those that would retard and delay. Now, one of the great facts that underpin the entire possibility of a path of human perfecting, which I must take for granted throughout these lectures, for to treat it as a matter for argumentation would divert us far from our subject. One of the fundamental facts in nature is the fact of reincarnation. That signifies the gradual development of man through many lives, through many experiences of the physical world, of the intermediate world, and also of the world designated as heaven. Evolution would be too brief to enable a man to grow from imperfection to perfection, unless he possessed many opportunities and a long, extended road to lead him upward. And our man of the world who shall take the first steps, who is prepared to undertake them, must have behind him a lengthy course of human evolution wherein he has learned to elect the good and to reject the evil, wherein his mind has been evolved and disciplined, and his character constructed from the ignorance and non-moral state of the savage to the point where the civilized man stands today. The fact of reincarnation, therefore, is taken for granted, for not one of us could possibly traverse the entirety of that long course, nor attain divine perfection within the confines of a single life. Yet, our man of the world need not possess knowledge of reincarnation. He knows it within his spiritual memory, although his physical brain may not yet have recognized it, and his past, which is a fact, shall propel him onward until spirit and brain are in fuller communion, and that which is known to the man himself becomes known within the concrete mind. The subsequent great fact, requisite and taken for granted, may be encapsulated in a single phrase of your own scriptures: "Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap." It is the immutable law of causation, the principle of action and reaction, whereby nature inevitably delivers unto man the consequences of that which he has conceived, that which he has coveted, and that which he has enacted. Subsequently, one must consider the verities that a path exists and that humanity has traversed it prior to our own journey, that a more precipitous evolution is achievable, that its laws may be ascertained, its conditions comprehended, and its stages navigated, and that at the culmination of this path stand those who, though once denizens of the mundane world, are now the guardians of the globe, the elder brethren of our race, the teachers and the prophets of antiquity, ascending in ranks of ever-increasingly resplendent light from the terminus of the human path to the supreme ruler of the sphere we inhabit. Impoverished indeed would be our aspiration were it that none before us had traversed the way, had none walked upon the path. Yet, they who in eras past have arrived as teachers have, in an antiquity even more remote, accomplished this monumental pilgrimage. Those whom we presently venerate as masters remain in contact with our realm, so that they may accept disciples and guide them in the traversing of the path. These constitute the paramount facts within nature, existing regardless of recognition, upon which the possibility of treading the path relies. Reincarnation, the law of karma, the reality of the path, and the existence of the teachers. These are the four postulates I must assume as established, not implying that they cannot be demonstrated as true through sequential argumentation, but rather accepting them as premises for the objectives of this course, for without each, these very lectures would be rendered impossible. What measures, then, is our man of the world to adopt, or what measures is he currently undertaking, if he is genuinely approaching the threshold of the path's commencement? I have stated that he requires no prior knowledge of the four great truths I have enumerated. He need not comprehend nor recognize them. That constitutes a portion of the auspicious aspect of this subject. That there may be, nay, there assuredly will be, many among you who do not yet perceive the veracity of these matters, yet who, in the course of evolution, are treading onward toward the entrance of the path. And although in the time to come you shall possess fuller knowledge, and though you are currently evolving unconsciously, the evolution remains, nonetheless an indisputable fact. My intention this morning is to illuminate those steps, that you may be enabled to contemplate your own lives and discern your standing, that you may determine, each for himself, whether his countenance is turned in the direction of the path. For there are many among you proceeding in that direction, albeit unknowingly, while there are some who, having studied and understood, are deliberately turning their faces toward that destination. To transform your evolution from an unconscious state to a conscious one, to enable you to comprehend yourselves and your position, such is the purpose of the first of these lectures, so that those amongst you who believe in the path may understand how to live, and that those who are unwittingly approaching it may, perchance, realize the felicity of their lot. The initial step of all, absolutely essential, without which no approach is feasible, and by which achievement comes within the reach of realization, may be encapsulated in 4 brief words. The service of man, therein lies the primary condition, the sine qua non. For the selfish, no such advancement is possible. For the unselfish, such advancement is assured. In whatever lifetime a man begins to prioritize the common good over his individual gain, whether in the service of the municipality, the community, the nation, the broader federation of nations, extending even to the service of humanity itself, each of these constitutes a step toward the path, preparing the man to plant his feet thereon. Furthermore, there exists no distinction here regarding the varieties of service, provided they are unselfish, arduous, and motivated by the ideal of assistance and servitude. It may be purely intellectual, the labor of the writer and the author, endeavoring to disseminate among others the knowledge he has acquired, so that the world may become slightly wiser, slightly more comprehending, because that man has lived and written. It may proceed along the avenue of art, wherein the musician, the painter, the sculptor, and the architect set before themselves the ideal of rendering the world somewhat fairer and more beautiful, making life sweeter, more replete with grace and culture for humankind. It may follow the path of social service, where the individual, moved by sympathy for the impoverished and the suffering, pours out his existence in the labor of aid, attempts to alter the constitution of society where it requires amendment, and strives to transform the environment where the surroundings of the past, once useful, have become an anachronism, obstructing the superior progress that humankind should presently be achieving within better surroundings and a nobler environment. It may lie along the route of political work, where the life of a nation, both internal and external, becomes the object of service. It may be found along the way of healing, where the physician endeavors to instill health in the place of disease and to optimize conditions for the body, so that the physical form may be healthier and more enduring than it would otherwise be. I cannot enumerate for you, one by one, the multitudinous divisions of the way of service. Any endeavor that possesses value to human existence is encompassed within that way. Select, therefore, whatever path you will, based upon your capacities and your opportunities. It is of no consequence regarding the traversing of the initial steps. Commerce, industry, any enterprise of utility to man, including production and distribution, all fall within the scope of service to mankind and the provision of man's necessities. Yet, you will contend that everyone is engaged in one or another of the pursuits I have mentioned, or in similar avocations of life. This is accurate, for the route to the path is situated within human life, and there is nothing essential for the growth and evolution of that life which cannot be transformed into a step toward the path. However, the distinction resides in the conditions of the labor. Verily, men pursue all these avenues and many more. They produce, they distribute, they participate in industry or commerce. They are writers, artists, politicians, social reformers, physicians, what you will, but with what objective and moved by what motive. Therein lies the divergence between the man who treads the ordinary road of evolution, developing through his labor or his study, and the man who, while developing, does so with the objective of service rather than personal success, with the aim of elevating the world slightly higher, and not merely of earning his livelihood therein. I speak not with any notion of condescension toward, nor with contempt for, those who are merely walking in the ways of the world with ordinary mundane objectives. That is a component, indeed a necessary component, of evolution. How should man evolve his intellect? How should he discipline his emotions? How should he develop even physically, unless he considers the ways of the world and exerts effort to succeed therein? It is beneficial that men should labor for the fruit of action, beneficial that men should struggle to succeed, beneficial that men should be ambitious, should grasp for power and position, for fame, honor, and success. Toys. Indeed, they are toys, yet they are the playthings by which children learn to walk, the prizes in life's academy by which the youths are stimulated to exertion, the crowns in the struggle of existence by which strength, energy, and future possibilities are cultivated. Do not despise the common world of humanity, wherein men are striving and struggling, committing many an error and many a blunder, perpetrating many a sin and even a crime. For all these are lessons in the school of life, all these are stages through which every man must pass. Just as the fierce struggle in the realm of the brute develops strength, cunning, and the capacity to preserve life, so too do the fierce struggles among men develop the power of the will, the power of the intellect, the power of the emotions, and even the vigor of muscle and of nerve. In a world which springs from infinite wisdom and infinite love, there exists no lesson in life devoid of purpose. Furthermore, within all the prizes of the world, though one might designate them as mere trifles from a superior vantage point, and within all the fruits of action which, in the higher existence, one is commanded to renounce and discard, the divine is concealed in every instance. In each of these, his attractiveness constitutes the sole power that allures, and although they may shatter upon being grasped, although ambition may turn to ashes upon satisfaction, although wealth may become a burden upon accumulation, and although pleasure may transform into satiety once the chalice of delight is drained, nevertheless, this shattering serves as yet another lesson. It is the lesson so exquisitely articulated by the Christian poet George Herbert. When God at first made man, having a glass of blessings standing by, let us, said he, pour on him all we can, let the world's riches, which dispersed lie, contract into a span, so strength first made a way, then beauty flowed, then wisdom, honor, pleasure, when almost all was out, God made a stay, perceiving that alone of all his treasure, rest, in the bottom lay. For if I should, said he, bestow this jewel also on my creature, he would adore my gifts instead of me, and rest in nature, not the God of nature, so both should losers be, yet let him keep the rest, but keep them with repining restlessness, let him be rich and weary, that, at least, if goodness lead him not, yet weariness may toss him to my breast. Herein lies the profound truth regarding the simultaneous value and worthlessness of human existence. It is valuable because it elicits the faculties without which no progress is possible. It is worthless because all material things fracture, leaving the hands empty until, at last, they grasp the feet of the divine. Thus, we discern the worth of ordinary life. our man of the world has commenced to realize that permanent joy cannot be discovered in the pursuit of personal pleasure, wealth, and honor, but rather in the service of his fellow men, in the succor of the miserable, the instruction of the ignorant, the uplifting of the oppressed, and the alleviation of the sorrow of the impoverished. Indeed, there are many among you today, possessing wealth and comfort, whose hearts are laden with the sorrow of the world, and who cannot find repose in your luxury while others are starving, miserable, and crushed beneath the burden of existence. Oh, the awakening of the social conscience amongst us, the recognition of social duty and responsibility, constitutes the noblest indication of human evolution. It is a testament to the advent of a new race that shall adopt sympathy in lieu of indifference, and cooperation in lieu of competition, as its governing rule in the outer life of man. As this sentiment expands and matures, an increasing number of worldly men shall tread these preliminary steps. However, the endeavor must be strenuous. It is not merely the transient emotion of compassion that prompts one to donate from one's superfluity that which is never missed to some worthy cause or unfortunate family. Nor is it simply the casting aside of certain luxuries so that others may possess more of life's necessities. Much more than this is demanded of you, O you who would advance toward the entrance to the path. You must offer yourself, not merely your possessions, and therein lies an immensity of difference. You must perceive the sorrow of others as you perceive your own pain. You must experience the grief of others as you experience the piercing of your own heart. This realization must come to you as an intolerable goad to action, pressing you along the way of service, which you can neither deny nor resist. You discern such individuals amongst you, those who cannot rest. This is not the making of sacrifices. That concept lies behind them. The actions the world terms sacrifices are their delights. They rejoice in giving themselves. It is a sacrifice only in the sense that the life spirit is perpetually flowing out to others. Yet that is joy and not sorrow, delight and not pain. It is involuntary, almost a necessity of existence. Where you observe that passion for service, where you witness that willingness to surrender everything so that others may be happier, where you behold individuals constantly contemplating what they can do to assist, whom they can find to serve, and who is near them to whom they can render aid, whether within the family circle or the broader sphere of public life, provided it is the constant, resolute endeavor to divest oneself of everything for the profit of others. There you have the manifestation of the inner spirit, who lives only to pour himself out and finds his satisfaction in the service of man. There, then, lies the first great step. Wherever you perceive this, that individual is approaching the path, though he may never have heard of it. He is advancing toward the masters, though he remains unaware of their existence. There are some, still residing in the twilight of unbelief regarding the spiritual life, who are nearer the entrance to the path than many so-called religious men who comprehend the theory of religion but do not observe its practice. Indeed, there is one profound truth concerning the value of passing through a period of materialism. Within that state, there is absolutely no expectation of reward. There is no discourse regarding the joys of heaven, nor the assurance that he that hath pity on the poor lendeth to the Lord, and lo, what he layeth out it shall be paid him again. In the life of the unbeliever, he sacrifices himself for mankind with no reward to anticipate, no return of outpoured riches to expect, and in so doing, he attains a perfection in the sacrifice of the lower self that many an earnest Christian, Buddhist, or Hindu might envy for its depth and reality. I recall an old friend of mine who passed away 21 years ago, whom some of the elders among you may remember by the name of Charles Bradlaugh. Here was a man who possessed no belief in life on the other side of death, who, in dying, maintained the conviction that death ended everything for him. Do you want access to this and all the complete audiobooks on the channel, plus the ebook version? Click the link in the description or scan the QR code in the left corner of the screen to access our library, where you can listen to your favorite esoteric books without ad interruptions, lock your screen, or use other apps while the narration plays, and even download the ebook version to follow along as you listen. Listen on your computer via web browser, or download the app from the Play Store. After subscribing, you will receive an email with your login details, password, and step-by-step instructions on how to access the books through the Hotmart app.